Auschwitz, late July 1941. One prisoner has escaped, and as punishment, the commandant does something terrible. He lines up the men of the block and picks 10 at random to be left to starve to death in an underground bunker. 10 lives in exchange for one escapee. That's how the camp would learn that no one should ever try. Locked in the dark, with no food, no water, until the body gives out. The commandant's finger stops on one man, and that man breaks down. He screams, "My wife, my children." Then the unthinkable happens. Another prisoner steps out of the line. He walks toward the machine guns, a gesture that means instant death, takes off his cap, and says calmly, "I want to take his place." The commandant is stunned. He asks who he is, and the answer is, "I am a Catholic priest." That man's name was Maximilian Kolbe, and what almost no one knows is that he wasn't improvising an act of courage. He was keeping a promise made 30 years earlier, when he was just a child. But what was that promise? Auschwitz was not a prison. It was a machine built to erase human beings, starting with their names. Kolbe was no longer Maximilian. He was prisoner number 16,670, tattooed on his arm. The starvation bunker in Block 11 was the most feared place in the camp. No one who went in came out alive. Dying of hunger and thirst in the dark could take 2-3 weeks of agony. And you should also know who this man had been before. Outside those walls, Kolbe was no ordinary man. He had founded the largest Franciscan friary in the world, in Poland, Niepokalanów, the City of the Immaculate, and ran a Catholic magazine that reached hundreds of thousands of homes. When the Nazis invaded Poland, he turned the friary into a shelter, giving refuge to thousands of fugitives, including a great many Jews on the run. That is why he was arrested. He wasn't a broken man looking for a way out. He was a man who had already given everything, and who, at Auschwitz, still had something left to give. Because that's exactly the point. No one, in a place designed to extinguish all mercy, ever volunteered to suffer. It went against every survival instinct. And yet Kolbe did it. For a stranger. A man he had never met before. Why? Let's go back 30 years. Kolbe is a 12-year-old boy in Poland, a restless kid. One day, according to his own account, the Virgin Mary appears to him. She reaches out her hands, holding 2 crowns. One is white, the other is red. Mary asks him which of the 2 he wants. The white crown, she explains, means he will remain pure. The red crown means he will become a martyr, that he will die for the faith. And the boy answers, "I want them both." A child who, at 12 years old, says yes to martyrdom without truly knowing what it means. 30 years later, in a line of prisoners at Auschwitz, that promise made to a lady clothed in light is about to be kept, in the most literal way imaginable. Kolbe goes down into the starvation bunker with 9 other condemned men. And here the story takes a turn no guard could have expected. Usually, screams and curses rose from the death bunker, the raving of despair. From this cell, instead, something else began to rise, singing, prayers, hymns to Mary. We know this from a witness, Bruno Borgowiec, a Polish prisoner assigned to serve the condemned men. He left a sworn testimony. He recounted that from the cell, there constantly rose the echo of prayers and singing, that at times the men were so absorbed in prayer they didn't even notice when the guards opened the door. And he said something that stays with you. Every time I went down there, I felt as if I were entering the crypt of a church. In the place built to kill hope, one man had turned a death cell into a sanctuary. The days pass. One by one, the condemned men die of hunger and thirst. But when the guards go down to check, they still find Kolbe, not huddled in a corner, standing or kneeling in the center of the cell in prayer, looking at his executioners with serenity. The guards, men trained in cruelty, don't know how to react in front of him. One of them, according to testimony, murmured, "This priest is truly a great man." After 2 weeks without food or water, he was still alive, one of the last ones left. And this is where the story reaches its hardest moment. The Nazis need to empty the cell for a new group of the condemned. Kolbe isn't dying fast enough. So, on August 14th, 1941, an SS man comes in with a syringe of carbolic acid, a poison that stops the heart. Witnesses say that Kolbe raised his left arm on his own, calmly, to receive the injection, like someone offering their hand, not someone enduring it. And before he died, he spoke 2 words, just 2. Hail Mary. He died on August 14th. And here's the detail few people notice. The next day, August 15th, is the Feast of the Assumption of Mary, the day the Church celebrates the Mother being taken up into heaven. Kolbe left this world with her name on his lips on the eve of her feast day. The red crown, promised to a 12-year-old boy, had been laid upon him. But there's a second life in this story. Remember the man who had screamed for his wife and children? His name was Franciszek Gajowniczek, and because of Kolbe, he did not die. He survived Auschwitz. He survived the war. He returned home, even though in the meantime his 2 sons had died in the bombings. He carried an almost unbearable weight for the rest of his life. Another man had died in his place, and he decided what to do with that gift. He spent the next 50 years telling the world what that priest had done for him. It was his testimony that set in motion the process that would make Kolbe a saint. On October 10th, 1982, in St. Peter's Square, Pope John Paul II, also Polish, also a survivor of the Nazi occupation, proclaimed Maximilian Kolbe a saint and martyr. And in the crowd that day was a very old man. Franciszek Gajowniczek, now in his 80s, watched with his own eyes as the man who had died in his place was declared a saint before the whole world. He lived to be 91. Until his last breath, he told the same story, because his entire life, every extra year he was given, was the fruit of that gesture in the line. You don't have to be Catholic to be stopped in your tracks by all this. In the Gospel of John, there's a line that seems written for that bunker. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Kolbe did something even more radical. He gave his life for a stranger. In a place built to prove that man is capable of the worst, one man showed what grace is capable of. The SS had the power to take everything from him, his name, his freedom, his body. What they could not take was the one thing that matters, the choice to love until the end. And there's something worth remembering. Kolbe didn't do what he did because he was a natural-born hero, fearless by nature. He did it because his whole life he had trained himself to say yes. At 12, before 2 crowns. Every day, before an altar. And finally, in a line of condemned prisoners. The courage of that instant wasn't born in that instant. It was built, choice by choice, over 40 years. And that's something that concerns you and me too. We don't become capable of great gestures all of a sudden. We prepare for them in the small yeses of everyday life. 2 crowns offered to a child, a life that earned them both. And one name, the last one, whispered in the dark. Mary. If this story has touched your heart, leave this prayer below, so the whole world can pray it together. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who gave your life for a stranger, teach me to love without measure. And like you, in the hour of darkness, let me know how to say only, Hail Mary. May God bless us all.